Hello, I am Mimi Lichtenstein, and today I am here with one of my friends and partners, Eva Sarangala, which I believe is the proper Greek pronunciation. We are going to talk about all about Greece, and I'm super excited because Eva and I have co-hosted a cooking show together about Greece. We've planned itineraries to Greece together, and she is not only super knowledgeable, but she also has amazing English, which I recently learned was because she lived in London for 10 years. So welcome to the show, Eva. I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you, Mimi. I'm so excited. I'm so thrilled, actually, that I'm here. Thanks for the nice introduction. I wish we could have this cup of tea or cup of coffee that I'm holding here in Greece. It's warming up here. We're getting finally into not summer, but we're spring going to the summer. And we look forward to seeing as many as possible of you to Greece this year.
Yes, well, the exciting news, obviously, a lot of people have heard about is that your prime minister has said you guys will open up even before the rest of Europe does, which will obviously be helpful to your economy, which relies so heavily on tourism because it is such a fun, active, wonderful culinary destination. I mean, there's just so many reasons to go. Be in a boat floating around, be in so many beautiful hotels. And today we get to talk about all the fun ones. So maybe to start, I'm going to have you share your screen, starting with some gorgeous pictures, of course, of Greece. And then maybe you could tell us a little bit about these and then go into the overall map of Greece and the different areas.
Absolutely. So my name is Eva again. So I look after Mimi and a variety of other wonderful clients for Eclectic Greece. We're a destination management company. So today we will explore together the best of Greece. So we just want to give you, our intention is to give you a feeling of being here and until the time is right to travel again. So are we ready to crack on with the map, Mimi?
Let's go.
Perfect. Okay, so you see the map of Greece here. Starting with Athens, so I'm gonna show with my cursor where Athens is located, is pretty much in the heart of Greece. The northern part of Greece is Thessaloniki and Halkidiki, a lot less undiscovered, I would say, from international clientele. So it's an amazing opportunity for people who have been already to Greece to choose that part. It's holding a wealth of natural treasures and historical treasures, I would say. It's the place where Alexander the Great was born as well. And then we move down to the other big part of mainland of Athens. And this is the Peloponnese, where the Amanzoe property is located. Peloponnese is where majority of the history of ancient Greece and more modern Greece. Recently, we celebrated the 200 years of the revolution, the Greek revolution against the Turkish Empire, which started from Peloponnese. And then we're moving on the right-hand side here in the complex of islands of Mykonos, Santorini, Paros, and Naxos. They're all very diverse, cosmopolitan vibes and authenticity coming through Paros and Naxos. And they're very popular with the US travelers because of the proximity and the logistics working really well with the ferries. And then down south, you've got the biggest island of Greece, the largest island of Greece, which is one of distinct culture and history as well, with an amazing gastronomy. Then on the left-hand side of the map, here we would be between Greece and Italy. You have Corfu and Zakynthos. So you have the Ionian Sea. So the Aegean Sea is on the right-hand side, the Ionian Sea is on the left-hand side of the map. So there is 7 big islands. Corfu and Zakynthos are really standing out. They were under the Venetian Empire over the years. So while the rest of the country was under the Turkish, and they were really devastating everything in terms of history and culture, Corfu and Zakynthos continued to grow because the Venetians were cultured. So we were flourishing with arts and music and further education. So we'll talk about those two a little bit later on. So we have a good idea of what everything is located. I mean, in Eclectic, we proactively, I would say, push for about 15 different destinations. So 15 different destinations, but of course, when you come up with one out of the blue, of course, we will help you out.
And just out of curiosity, when you look at the Ionian Sea versus the Aegean Sea, how much of a difference is there in terms of weather during prime season? So during the summertime, is Corfu a lot different than Santorini and Mykonos area?
I wouldn't say so. So between the islands have pretty warm weather. So the season in majority of the Aegean Sea opens up April to May up until October, end of September until October. Now Santorini is a special case, which has a much longer season, starting from end of March, finishing around the end of October or beginning of November. So it can last about 10th of November, similar with Crete. But you see on the map, Mimi, Santorini and Crete are quite down south. So that's why they're naturally a lot warmer. So Corfu goes up to the level where probably Florence would be in Italy. So it's a lot northern.
Further north. Okay. Well, I have very fond memories of my last trip to Greece, which I can't remember if I told you. I was there for a week-long wedding, and we carried, I don't know how many cases of wine with us wherever we went. If we didn't finish it, it went to the next destination. And we went from Athens to Santorini to Mykonos, and I loved all three, but I'm excited to come back again one day so that I can try out some of these other ones, because I think the challenge is which one's the right one for you. There's so many beautiful places to go.
Absolutely.
And so talking today with you will give people a lot better insight into what the different hotels are there that we love, the different experiences you can have, hiking, biking, and different places to go depending upon what your interests are, culinary, wine, and all that good stuff. So maybe let's start out with food, because
yes,
Greece has great food.
Okay, so I'm sorry. One of the main reasons people come to Greece, yes, we know it's the spectacular weather and the beach side, but everybody that I know of and all the clients, they definitely comment on the food. And I can tell the difference. You mentioned earlier, I lived abroad 1/3 of my life, and I missed my mom's food and, the typical traditional Greek food. So we have what we have, we're doing quite successfully in the company is that we incorporated in every single destination, either a culinary walk or a food tour, as we call it, or a cooking class. So it covers a variety of tastes. So you never run out of choice in any destination, because food is in our core. It's the main question. We don't talk about anything else in our families. We talk about food. It's a priority. So majority of the tours, the walking food tours, they would have either 7 to 10 stops. So make sure you haven't eaten anything before you start this tour. So you can have an experience of what Greeks would have for breakfast, which can be koulouri, like a pastry with a little bit of sesame on top, or bougata, which is a phyllo pastry filled with how can I say? With it's like a cream, like the yellowish cream. It feels a lot more like a dessert, but in the northern part of Greece we eat it quite a lot. And then you'll try the best souvlaki, which is street food basically, which can fill your stomach with a couple of euros. And other traditional phyllo pastries, you go around the little shops where they sell the spices, a variety of spices. And you can experience those, as I said, in majority of the destinations we promote. Crete is a gastronomy destination. It's absolutely amazing. You see this gentleman here, he's 86-year-old. He's a phyllo master. So he makes the best phyllo pastry, like thin pastry in Crete. So it's part of the experience. But one of my highlights, and I think yours as well after the cooking class that we've done together, it's when we take people to local traditional homes where actually the families with the mother and the daughter and the grandmother, they all cook together. So you have a proper traditional authentic experience, and they share all the secrets of their local cuisine. Of course, on the base, Greece has a lot of common things as in the cuisine. So you would have the tzatziki and you would have the spanakopita that we cooked. But from Crete to the northern part of Greece, there's a lot of differentiation. So you can experience all of that.
And what I love too is that people have a choice. Lots of people want to, sort of quote unquote, get their hands dirty, and they want to be in the kitchen making spanakopita with a Greek grandma, let's say. But then other people want to go try 10 different dishes at 10 different restaurants, and you can do both. Maybe not both in the same day, because then you might not be able to eat for a few days, but you have the option to, do either or. And so much about Greece isn't necessarily meeting someone famous, but it's meeting the average, regular, everyday Greek people who live this life and seeing what their kitchen is like and how they come together to eat over a full plate and meal, at dinner time. It's just such a great way to have a really authentic experience while you're there.
And also what best to accompany the food that we're cooking with what else? We missed going out. We missed drinking socially. And Greece, I have to say, and this is quite unfortunate, we haven't done pretty well in our marketing with the wine, because Greece has a variety of different wine regions from the northern part of Greece, where I said Alexander the Great was born, close to Thessaloniki. Thessaloniki is the second biggest after Athens city. After Athens, to the southern part of Greece in Peloponnese. So in Peloponnese, you've got Nemea, which is very, very popular for the red wine they are producing, like deep, dark, ruby color and concentrated aromas of red fruits. The northern part is very popular for the rosé and the white. And then Santorini, which is absolutely spectacular. I even didn't know that for a couple of years. When I came back to Greece, that Santorini is one of the oldest vineyards in Europe, resulting to an extraordinary crisp Assyrtiko. Assyrtiko is a white wine. So when you go to Santorini, the likelihood is that you will try a lot of Santorinian wines. And then they're producing an outstanding sweet dessert wine, basically, which is called Misanto.
I remember we went and visited a winery that produced white wines when we were in Santorini. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but yeah, it was just as much fun as if you're going to France or Italy to do it there. So highly recommend to add it to the itinerary if somebody is interested in wine.
Absolutely.
And what a stunning landscape. The water.
Okay, the water. So we're talking first about the top highlights, and then we'll go into history, because my brother says sometimes, who would come to Greece just for the history? I was like, no, there's a lot of people who would come for the history. Yes, but they come for the water. So we're very blessed, very fortunate. Apart from the islands, we have an amazing coastline. So people have this perception sometimes maybe that if you don't go to the islands, you don't experience proper Greece. And this is so not true, because the northern part of Greece, the coast by the Ionian Sea or the Peloponnese, have really crystal blue water, like turquoise water. And this is because we don't have, you say sometimes in an ocean view, we don't have the ocean here. It's the Mediterranean Sea, right? So the water is not dark and muddy. It's like crystal blue. We don't have sharks. We don't have jellyfish. We don't have all the dangers that you would have in the ocean. So, and you have really the combination with the nature, like here in Zakynthos. So in Zakynthos, one of the top suggestions is to explore the caves, either early in the morning or late in the evening, just to get the best colors. And you can easily combine that with a really breathtaking experience. Zakynthos is one of my favorite islands, along with Corfu, because I kind of grew up there during my childhood. There is the Kareta sea turtle, which they only lay their eggs in the beaches, on some of the beaches of Zakynthos or Zante. Just we make it shorter. So you might be lucky enough to see them hide their eggs in the sand and also swim alongside them, but you definitely by no means you cannot disturb them. So it's like a protected species, basically, that they move around only in Zakynthos.
They're so beautiful. I mean, I don't know about, maybe not everybody's willing to get in the water with a giant sea turtle, but I know my teenagers are, and I am, because just to be in the presence of such a graceful creature under the water is, you know, it just sort of makes you realize how fortunate we are that, you know, they're still around and your sea is clean and they have a habitat. So I definitely would put that on my trip.
And then for the more fit and active travelers, and definitely for nature lovers, one of my top. So this show is all about my favorite things. If you haven't noticed, so you know, I'm not, you know, the most fit, like, you know, person, but Samaria Gorge is just spectacular. It is the most popular gorge in Greece. And it's a breathtaking activity. It's 16 kilometers long, and to be accurate, is about 10 miles. 10 miles to walk. I mean, it's not an easy kind of, like, you know, trail. So you have to be really prepared. It will take kind of, like, you know, 6 to 8 hours to walk through that. But this is the amazing view that you get at the end of it. So it's definitely worth it. There is a lot of other places that you can do hiking as well in Greece. I mean, there's a lot of, like, you know, hiking trails in Naxos, in Santorini. Now, my favorite is biking, Mimi, because it all happens with the electrical bikes, the automatic bikes. So I had an amazing experience with your colleagues when they visited in 2019. So it was a group of 10 and myself, and we were all hiking 7 o'clock in the morning, and I was the last to finish. So that was kind of, like, you know, heartbreaking. And after that, I thought, okay, no more hiking for Eva. But, you know, hiking and biking, I mean, for the more active travelers, definitely in majority of the destinations. In Santorini, the coastline, I mean, the caldera view that you see here, it's, you know, quite breathtaking. So you can take it either early in the morning or late in the evening, because it gets pretty hot, I would say, during the day. It would be like, you know, 40 Celsius.
Most of the clients that I work with are definitely on the active, more adventurous side. So anytime that we can throw in biking, and it makes it even better if electric bikes are available, because then you can equalize people's sort of interest in getting a good workout and or speed. So it's nice to be able to have both.
Absolutely.
Okay, we're going to the Acropolis Museum and cultural spots in Athens.
The majority of the activities that you would do in Greece would be cultural. So when you're in the capital, and a lot of people tend to push back on the capital because they don't want to miss out on the islands, but we always try to explain that the capital has totally it's been revitalized after the 2004 Olympics, for sure. So you can't, even if you are there for a day, you cannot miss a short Athens city tour, like a private guided tour, where they take you to the Acropolis and the highlights, like the Panathinaikos Stadio, and the highlights, like move around the ancient Roman agora, or market, as we call it. So we can do it as short as you wish. If you don't have, like, you know, so much time, normally would be between 3.5 to 4.5 hours, and you can combine it, of course, with the Acropolis Museum, which is really
that's a must do. And what I loved about the Acropolis Museum is, as you're walking in, you're all of a sudden walking over glass, and underneath you are more ruins, because as they excavated to create the Acropolis Museum, they found more ruins and they didn't want to disturb them. So they're sort of all around you, in addition to in the museum, you know, as an actual display.
And we recently done a walk around Athens to showcase the highlights of Athens, and I can share that with you, Mimi. It's going to be on our next newsletter. So even in Plaka, which is another traditional neighborhood of Athens, which is further down from the Acropolis Museum, you walk on the street, and in some parts of the street you still have like glass, because they've seen like the ruins, and they wanted to, they found the ruins, and they wanted to protect it. So definitely I wouldn't miss that, even if it's for a day. And one of my other highlights, because Crete is becoming extremely popular with the US clientele, I would say, is the Knossos Palace and the Archaeological Museum in the Heraklion. So now Heraklion is one of the biggest cities in Greece. So you fly from Athens to Heraklion or Hania. So there's 2 airports in Crete. So the Knossos Palace and the Archaeological Museum is where the ancient Cretans, which we used to call Minoans, started the Western civilization. So it's believed that it all started from Crete, and they developed the first signs of the civilization, which then moved to Peloponnese. Peloponnese is where, let me speak in food terms, where Kalamata olives come from. And then moved up to Athens, further up to Athens, then to Rome, and then expanded to the rest of the world. So we're grateful to the Minoans for the civilization they left behind. Absolutely amazing to take this trip. And then as we move more into history, there is a lot in Greece you have exactly 18 UNESCO monuments. And one of those is Delphi. A couple of hours drive, 2.5 to be more precise, 2.5 hours drive north from Athens. Delphi is just next. I mean, you can do it as a day trip, or you can stay overnight. So Arachova, it's a small village where the affluent Athenians tend to go for the winter breaks, and there is avid skiers that they go down the slopes of Parnassos. So you would see the creme de la creme of Athens in the surrounding area. But Delphi used to be the most amazing, the biggest oracle of the antiquity. So people would go there as an effort to get predictions about the future, like a fortune teller kind of thing. And then one which really stands out, and where the Olympic Games started from, is Olympia. A lot of people think that the Olympic Stadium is in Athens, but the original Olympic Stadium, we have an Olympic Stadium in Athens, but it's modern. The original Olympic Stadium is in Olympia, which is down south from Athens in Peloponnese, about 3 hours drive. And there you will visit the sanctuary and walk through the serene temples and altars. And also there's 2 different museums. The one is devoted to the modern Olympic Games, and the other is to the ancient Olympic Games.
Beautiful. That's obviously a springtime picture. Yes.
This is just about now. It was taken yesterday.
Oh, it was? Beautiful.
Just fresh to be put in the show. And then very close to Olympia, you would have Epidavros. So Epidavros is part of a tour that we organize. We call it the Argolida or Argolis tour. So it includes Epidavros, it includes Mykines. Mykines used to be one of the biggest kind of and I wouldn't say capitals, I would say cities that would stand out in the antiquity because of a very popular king, King Agamemnon, used to live there. But back to Epidavros. Epidavros is one of the most beautiful and stunning theaters of the antiquity. It seats 1,400 spectators. Still today is in use, obviously not now with COVID, but you still have theatrical plays happening there. And it has one of the best acoustics in the modern world. So it is absolutely spectacular. All the reviews that all the plays that go into Epidavros, they are super high end. So if you couldn't...
Let me ask you this, because I think I mentioned to you the other day, but we didn't talk about it. My recollection was outside of the Acropolis in downtown Athens, there's a theater, which I thought was called the Theater of Dionysus, where Andrea Bocelli and other famous people come and sing. What is the name of that? Is that the right one?
True.
Okay. They're still having shows outside of
Dionysus. Yes, it's still there. And it is the first theater. So it was the first theater ever built in Greece. So the concept of a theater started there, just next to the Acropolis. You're absolutely right.
Well, I want to go there and see something. I don't know. I don't care what, but I'd like to go there for that experience because it looked stunning.
We'll take you there. We're all into experiences, Bibi. And then thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk about Meteora. Meteora is next to my hometown. This is where I was born and brought up. It's about 4 hours north from Athens, so it's driving from Athens. So Meteora is a rock formation in central Greece, hosting one of the largest and most steeply built complexes of the Eastern Orthodox monasteries. So the monasteries, there's about 24 different monasteries. 6 of those are just kind of like hanging off the cliff. So if you see on the next picture, so you have these rocky formations, and on the top of that, you have like the monasteries. And I know what it reminds you of.
First of all, it's stunning. I mean, look at that landscape. It's absolutely spectacular, but it does remind me a little bit of Tiger's Nest. So I'd be curious, actually, I don't know when that was built, but I'd be curious sort of when each of those were built. Do you know when this one was built?
I'm not going to lie to you, no, but there's, there is thousands of years back.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to check for my own satisfaction.
Definitely. So there is one that you call it Megalo Meteoro, which is the big stone, and the other, is just like a formation of monasteries, and the other is like a small meteor. And as I said to you the other day, back in the days they were using baskets. So between the 2 rocks that you see on your screen, if they didn't have access from the land, they would use baskets to bring the monks and the nuns from the one side to the other. It's pretty spectacular. And then my last UNESCO, out of my highlights, would be the old town of Corfu. So the whole of the old town of Corfu, which is quite big, is a UNESCO heritage site. To me, Corfu is very close to my heart. I spent summer times and Easter time there. And let me tell you this, Easter time, if any of your clients would have the opportunity to be in Greece, April, because normally Easter falls in April, either the beginning, the end. This year, our Greek Orthodox Easter falls on the 5th or 4th of May, so a month after yours.
Okay.
So by May, everything is in full flow. Corfu is not an island that it gets kind of deserted after the season, because there's a lot of permanent residents who live there. And in the other islands, but especially Corfu, has a lot of universities. So it's got a lot of vibrant nightlife and day life as well. So to me, Corfu is a place where you move around the little narrow cobble streets, and you have, because they were under the Venetians for many, many years, the empire of the Venetians, it feels that you're walking around Italy. So if you have been to Italy and you can compare, it just has the gist of Italy. In the architecture, in the cuisine, so in the way that they're cooking their food, and also in during Easter time, they have a variety of customs in the main square and the churches. It's a deeply religious place. There's a lot of Greeks who would visit from other parts of Greece to be there for the Easter, because it's how do you say it? It's a whole process for the Holy Week. So from Monday up until Easter Sunday, you have everything to look forward every day. And in Corfu, you've got about 18 different bands that parading through the streets for the duration of the Easter, like in a Holy Week. So it's quite spectacular. Of course, any time of the year it would be spectacular, but Easter is it's a highlight for me, and you won't find a lot of tourists there. And then let's go to the light stuff.
Yeah. Okay. So we're sort of moving on from cultural, and both Eva and I have a love of amazing hotels, particularly with gorgeous views or, a real authentic feeling of where they are situated. And we also love really cool experiences. So first, maybe let's tackle the hotels. Your favorites, my favorites.
So I had a little bit of sailing. So I'll scroll through just to show a little bit of sailing. So we can do sailing for a day, or we can do yacht charters for a week or 2 weeks, or as much as the client wishes for. So you see spectacular water views here. This is in Mykonos. I mean, it is easier to start it from Athens or Mykonos because the majority of the boats and the yachts that we're using are located there because of the demand. And I also wanted to share this with you to see the shipwreck. So the shipwreck is in Zakynthos or Zante on the other side. And it's one, after Santorini, I think it's the most photographed place in Greece.
Wow. Well, so clarify for me. So when you're saying Mykonos and Athens, those are the best ports to go out of if you're going to do an overnight charter of multiple nights. Is that right? Or can...
Both. I was referring to both because people who would go to Mykonos, they would be a lot more comfortable spending that kind of budget, have this kind of budget to do a day sailing tour.
You can still do it like in the Caldera, also in Santorini, correct?
Absolutely. I was talking mostly about the availability of the boat. So even on a last minute, we can get easier a boat from Athens, but we can do it from any destination. Absolutely.
Well, that water looks so bright blue, it's hard to believe that it's not a watercolor painting, quite frankly.
I mean, I haven't done anything with Photoshop. It is absolutely spectacular, and that's why, Mimi, and we'll come to the yachting part later on, but the Ionian is so close to my heart because they combine the amazing greenery. It's a lot greener compared to the Aegean Sea, where it's a lot more dry, but you have the white houses with the blue windows. But to me, it's just, this is a lot more appealing. So we have places for everyone. 1,200 islands, and 200 of those are inhabited. So I don't think you're running out of choices. Okay, no. Let's come to the new openings. Well, new openings and favorite openings as well. So first of all, we have the Athens Capital by M Gallery. It's an Accor brand. It opened in September 2020, despite the circumstances. So they have opened. And to me, it's the most amazing hotel, as it's got the top floor swimming pool. There's not a lot of hotels with a top floor swimming pool and a bar and a restaurant overlooking the whole of Athens. And on the left-hand side, you will have a direct view of the Acropolis. A favorite as well would be Xenodochio Milos, also located in Kolokotroni Square, very, very close to the main shopping district, and Kolonaki. So if you're looking for something a little bit more upmarket and, big brand names to be close by, so the shopping district. And it's also, I mean, because we talked about King George before and Grand Britannia, and we're talking about that later. It's just at the back of that square. So very centrally located. It became Relais Chateau before it even opened. So it's got, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the restaurant Milos in the US.
No.
So they're all Greek restaurants. They have one in New York. I'm sure there is one in California and one in Miami. So it's a big, big brand. It's high, it's very recognized. And it's the first Xenodochio. So it's the first Xenodochio actually means hotel. Okay. So they took Milos from the restaurant kind of concept, and they created the first hotel Milos. So the focus would always be on the food and beverage side. And then we're moving back to Crete, Domes, Zenith, and Autograph Collection. If you look at the website and if you look pictures and if you're there, you feel that, oh, this is so exclusive it's an adults only hotels. And then you realize that this is a proper family resort. So it feels so unique, but at the same time, unique for, and exclusive for clients because of the decor is very modern, at least to me. And then you go in and you see a huge piece of land where the kids can be looked after and do a lot of activities without the parents have to worry about them. And the sister property of Domes would be an adults only. So the Domes Nuruz would be an adults only property. Now, Kalisma. Kalisma means invite or invitation in Greek. 27 suites and 2 villas, all of similar design and architecture. So there is pretty much one category, but it's to the super high-end levels of accommodation. So it would be a big opening coming on this year. It was planned for last year. A few minutes drive away from the main town, and they are kind of trying to recreate the traditional way of life of Mykonos before the 60s, before they even attracted tourists, with traditional baking of bread, once a week. So they have kind of different concepts every day to make the travelers feel how Mykonos used to be, not as a party island destination and cosmopolitan destination back in the days. And I think they will be very successful in that. And then my favorite is
quick question. So obviously the picture you just showed was a stunning sunset. In Mykonos, as I remember, as I think about it, in Santorini, there's a lot of cluster of hotels all in one particular area in Ia, very dense. Whereas in Mykonos, they're spread out a little bit more around the island, correct? Okay. And so this one is closest to the main town?
It's about a 3 kilometers drive from the main town. You definitely wouldn't want to walk it because the streets in Mykonos are quite narrow. So we don't encourage people to walk because it's Mykonos. Safety, exactly. But it just sits on one of the most spectacular locations because you've got a beach. I mean, it's not the beachfront, but the beach is not far, so you can just walk down to the beach. It's kind of elevated, and that's why it gets a really nice sunset view.
It's stunning. I would like to be there with you right now, having a nice.
We can do a live, Mimi, next time I'm in Mykonos because they're opening in May, and we were invited to go and check it out. We can do a live for you.
I would love that. Let's do it.
And then Oma and Santorini. Another tip to remember. The hotels in Ia, or majority of the hotels in Ia, they wouldn't allow families with children under 16 or 13, depending on the hotel ownership. So Oma is an exception. It sits on the caldera, but at the front there is a pathway. I mean, it's actually a road, but it's just not a very busy road. So it would be part of the hiking trail, if you like. So yes, you were allowed to drive, but at the same time, it's not a busy road, if that makes any sense.
So I'm just going to share really quickly the map so people can see. If you look at it, you can see the main part of Ia where a lot of the hotels are clustered and where Eva just mentioned aren't super family-friendly places are over here with stunning views going out over this way. But the hotel that she's talking about is further over here. So it's not in that downtown, really steep area. So if you are planning to go to Santorini with younger kids, definitely would suggest that you would stay further over here.
And also Imerovigli, as the area of Imerovigli, it's the highest point of the island. So it's kind of like this. So you're here on the top of it. And if you ask me, this is the best sunset view that you can get because you're on the highest point. having said that, IA is also spectacular, and we've got a couple of options. And then an interesting opening that is coming on this year in Corfu. It's been delayed also for a year or maybe more. It's the new Angsana. It's a few minutes drive, I would say a good 10 minutes drive from the main town of Corfu, the main city of Corfu. It's combining the Asian hospitality with the Greek element, but I don't think you will feel a lot of these Asian elements. Definitely you will, it's built amongst big land of olive groves and other, how can I say, a lot of deep
in open spaces.
Yeah, it's a lot of greenery around. I mean, Kerkyra or Corfu. Kerkyra is the Greek name of Corfu. It's definitely very rich when it comes to vegetation, if I pronounce it correctly. And then we're going to the highlights. Mimi asked me to put the highlights.
Well, I think these are your favorites, plus some of them are a little over the top. This one, the difference between this one and the other rooftop that you showed of the new hotels in Athens is I think that pool is rooftop pool for everybody, whereas this pool is a private pool in the penthouse overlooking, as you can see, the Acropolis. And yes, this is where we had a white party when I was there for this wedding, and it was absolutely stunning. And the bride and groom were staying in this particular penthouse.
And what we try to secure always for our clients in any hotel that we partner with or we cooperate with is to have rooms that have direct views to the Acropolis. Because this is why people are coming from. So when they wake up and they look out of the window and they see that, it's just absolutely stunning. There is a few hotels, just to mention, apart from the Grand Britann, the King George, Electra Metropolis is even closer to the Acropolis, so down the road, and very close to the Parliament. So it's all this district is a very pleasant walk around the city center of Athens. And then my other favorite. So if we have people who are, I mean, I don't want to discriminate in terms of age, but if we have people who are more into the heavy luxury, like the Grand Britann, which has this palatial feel and look, yes, I would send them either to Grand Britann or King George. But if you have crowds that they are a little bit more modern and a little bit more upbeat, we would have this chic boho style of hotel that it's called Perianth. It's been around for a few years, for about 4 years, if I'm not mistaken. You step out of the door and you are in the busiest shopping area. Coffee shops everywhere, bars, restaurants, clubs. So you're in the heart of all of it. And at the same time, because I've stayed there, it's one of the only hotels that I've stayed overnight in Athens, because obviously I live in Athens, I don't need to. But they've asked me to go and experience, and it was a really beautiful stay. So we had one of, I didn't have the penthouse, it was taken, but we had a really nice room overlooking the Acropolis. So in the evening, it was amazing. So this picture that you see, it's the penthouse. So you have a small jacuzzi, but on the left-hand side of the picture, you would have a bigger swimming pool. So you're just stretching your hand and you're almost touching the Acropolis. So this is the the most amazing feeling when you're in Athens.
And by the way, stunning view during the day, obviously, but at nighttime, when the Acropolis is lit up, it is, I think, even more beautiful.
It was really nice. And then we're moving a little bit away from the capital again. We're going to Mykonos. Mimi, I was really thinking how I'm going to describe Mykonos. It's like the feeling when I was coming back to Greece, when I used to live abroad and I was missing everything. And you land from the plane lands and you come out and you breathe the air that is so familiar to you, and it smells home. I don't know if you ever had this feeling, but because I was abroad, I always used to be like, oh, home. So when you're in Mykonos, you have this specific special feeling. It's a place that is, they've done they've done a massive brand name in the tourism industry out of nothing. And I mean that because the island, it wasn't blessed or fortunate like Crete to have like, you know, the olive groves or to have history. They had nothing. So the Mykonoans, they said to themselves back in the days, in the 60s, that we need to do something. How are we going to make money? And they were very open-minded, and they attracted a lot of artists and a lot of fashion designers back in the 60s and the 70s. And they were so open to the LGBT community over the years. And they made the destination like, you know, a trend. Like it was a trend along with Ibiza or Ibiza. It is a trend. And I really give it to them because Santorini is blessed with all the natural landscape. But Mykonos really, they deserve the success they had. So now in Mykonos, my top favorite hotels would be the ones that I experienced because we talked about Kalisma earlier. It's the two properties of Bilenkou in Mykonos town, very close to Mykonos town. Again, not advisable to walk. And the Bilenkou coast, which is by the coast. So you're stepping out of your suite and you're by the sandy beach. So in total about 45, so 30 in one hotel and another 15 suites on the other. And it's quite like, you know, elevated. So you have the most stunning view of the sunset of the Aegean Sea. Mm-hmm. And then we're going to Santorini, similar view, a little bit further down on the map from the Cannabis Epitome. So we discussed about the sunset and the point where people would go and watch the sunset, and there would be flocks of people on a specific time every evening to take pictures, and it wouldn't be ideal. It wouldn't be ideal for pre-COVID years, let alone now. So if you want to enjoy the best sunset in the world from the comfort of your balcony or your patio, I would say you can choose either Cannabis Epitome or Andronis Arcadia. They both sit on the higher luxury scale of hotel.
I think, Santorini really loves their infinity pools, right? Everybody likes to feel like that. You can hard to tell where the infinity pool ends and the Aegean Sea begins.
They both opened, the Cannabis opened, if I'm not mistaken, 2018, and Arcadia opened in 2019. So just a year of difference. And the one that you see on the screen, it's actually the longest, the biggest swimming pool in Santorini. And only a few minutes walk from the main town of Ia. And then I'm closing this hotel highlights with Domes Miramare. We talked about Domes Zine in Crete. So it's another sister property. They also opened recently in 2019. Sorry, I laugh, Mimi, because you said, I said yesterday, you step out of your suites and you walk into the water. You said the swimming pool. No, you step out of the suite and, you know, the sea is there. So the beach is just right there. So, you know, the setting with the olive trees, some of the oldest olive trees in Greece. So one in the main lobby area, it's 500 years of age. So, yeah. I mean, it doesn't look it. It looks good. And then we were talking about over the top experiences. So one of the ones, I mean, we have the capacity to privatize a lot of spaces, a lot of monuments. We have a lot of partners, and the tourism, the Ministry of Tourism, the tourism boards in Greece. So we have a lot of right connections to make it work for the right type of client. But one of the highlights, and we've done it for a few multi-generational trips, it's the privatization of the Museum of Acropolis. So you can have an absolutely private guided tour through the monuments after it closes its doors to the public. And then at the same time, we organize in the balcony a dinner setup so you can enjoy this lavish meal under the sacred rock of the Acropolis. So you see the Acropolis on the left-hand side from that balcony.
Yeah, well, I think the location of that is so beautiful, and obviously lots of people, more so than they used to, would rather, not be in crowded places, and hopefully that's going to change. But in the short term, to be able to walk through with your own personal guide, the Acropolis Museum would obviously be a super special treat. And then to end on this gorgeous terrace with a harp player and amazing Greek food would be a really special experience.
It would be a treat.
Yeah, definitely a wonderful treat. And I think the next one, I mean, you and I talked about doing what are the overtop experiences in the different places around Greece. So is the next one maybe Santorini?
Next one is your favorite cheese experience.
Oh, right. For people who love cheese, this is a good one. I love this one. Tell us.
Mimi is in TikTok with the feta challenge. The feta challenge.
I did.
Okay, so
I did the feta challenge. I made the meal for my kids, and they thought it tasted so good. It was from a restaurant. That's what they said.
From a restaurant.
Compliment.
Well done, Mimi. So this experience will take you down to Crete again. So what we do, we call it Dine with the Shepherd, and I said to Mimi a couple of times, this is very close to my heart because my own mother makes feta cheese from scratch. So she buys the milk, from the shepherd, and she does all the. I mean, it's a week-long process. So if anyone is interested, I can give you an introduction to this cheese making process. But when you're there, you do it at a half day activity. So you will have the chance to milk the goat with the shepherds and then participate in the traditional cheese making process. And then we'll introduce you to the traditional Cretan music and the local musical instruments while you enjoy a glass of wine, and it all finishes with an amazing Cretan meal and award winning wines. As I said, Greece is popular with the wine regions, but this is definitely one that the client would come back and would say that it was such an authentic activity, such a very connecting with the culture and the people. And majority of those shepherds, obviously they wouldn't speak any other languages, so you're just trying to figure out and translating. So it is a lot of fun, definitely. Apart from the learning element, it is a lot of fun. And one of the activities that I've done also myself, I think I've done pretty much everything what I put in this presentation, apart from the turtles. I'll do that with Mimi when she comes to Greece. So this is in Mykonos. This guy, he cooks live in a deserted island. So you have a private island. Well, it's not a private island, I'm not gonna lie. It's a deserted island. So he actually has access to this island where he has a little house where he cooks everything from scratch. So it's an experience that will take about 5 hours. So we pick you up from the hotel, and then we get you on a private yacht, gets into the Rini Island, as we call it, and then you can swim. We have created a spectacular setup. So we have a lot of shade, so the sun doesn't give you any trouble, and then cushions around. So he creates the starters, he put the appetizers out and the salads. So it's very simple food, but it's so good, it's so fresh. You have all the mussels and the shrimp and the Greek salad, and then he grills big fresh fish, as you see here on the screen. And you can drink a lot of wine. I mean, we can order whatever you like. It's more advisable to do it as a group because it's a lot more fun. We've done it for couples as well. And we always have a really, really good feedback. So definitely recommend that as one of the highlights.
And let me ask you a question real quick about fishing, because I don't think we touched on fishing. Is there an opportunity in the island somewhere to go fishing with a local fisherman?
This is a little bit of a challenge because fishing needs to be done very early in the morning, and majority of the fishing boats are not fit for other people to go there. So it's a little bit of a people wouldn't want to get up 5 o'clock in the morning to go and pull the nets out of the water, and then it's a little bit of a safety. However, we can do it. I mean, we can do it with a private yacht. Of course, the traditional experience. But if somebody is really keen into fishing, we can do it. Absolutely.
Okay.
And we're ready for...
Where are we going? We're transitioning to your favorite restaurant?
Too much food.
That's okay. That's definitely a big part of going to Greece, is that you get to eat all the fabulous food. So tell us about your favorite places and the off the beaten path places. Like, what do you love?
Well, in Athens, as I said, it's been transformed after 2004. And you have, of course, the typical tavernas. I mean, we grew up with the tavernas. We didn't know anything about fine dining or a more creative Greek gastronomy, as we call it, like, today. So it's still calamari or octopus, but it's with a twist. So there is a lot of places now that they kind of reinvented themselves and kind of elevated the quality of the service they're offering. So they might have been a taverna, but now they're an upscale taverna. So one of my favorites would be Koukouvalia, which means owl in Greek. And it's in the heart of Athens, next to one of the biggest hotels. Hilton Hotel is a business hotel. So during the day, you would see a lot of business people going there. But at the same time, it's becoming a lot more trendy for the tourists, because the tourists the travelers, they don't want to go just to Plaka and Monastiraki, because then sometimes it feels too touristic. So they're kind of diverting to other places. Athens, the past few years, is definitely competing with the dining of Mykonos, which is top, and Santorini, which is also quite amazing. So Athens would be, in every guide before the clients come to Greece, would share a variety of options with them. So you would have, you will have enough to cover a month. And then a big opening and a big move actually would be Selini. Selini restaurant, it's one of the oldest fine dining restaurants. I would say the top fine dining restaurant in Greece. Is a Michelin star restaurant. It also joined forces with Hector Botrini. Botrini is half Greek or born Greek, but with Italian kind of blood. He's known because he kind of joins some TV series and shows in similar to Hell's Kitchen in Greece, but his restaurants are really now to a very high standard. So these two popular chefs, they have moved their their residence to one of my favorite hotels, Katekias Garden. So Katekias Group is one of the most popular hotel groups in Santorini. And it is a converted, what you see here, it's a converted monastery. Actually, there is a few nuns that they still live on a different division and a different section next to the hotel. So there's a lot of architectural characteristics that are quite different to what you normally see in Santorini, but you see the blue dome at the back, so you know where you are. And then in Santorini, definitely you would have a variety of fine dining options, but also Armeni. One of my favorite options, that would be a pretty much a taverna. A taverna with, really good quality food, though. You don't have
fresh seafood, right? Obviously, it's right on the water. We ate at one of these tavernas on the water, and you go and you see all the fresh catch of the day, and you could just pick it out from the glass container. And what I love about this in Ia, when we went, we had to go down a lot of stairs to get to it. But I think this one is one that you go to by boat.
True. You don't have access on food. From the land, you can't get there. So you have to get by boat, and that's why we put this picture. So we move the clients around. So this belongs to one of our top hotel suppliers as well, so we can coordinate with them. And then, as you walk through the really beautiful streets of Mykonos, and you've done your shopping and you bought your quirky souvenirs to take back home, you kind of feel hungry. So you're thinking, oh, maybe I can step into Koya. So Koya is a Peruvian style. It's an international brand that came to Mykonos I'm not suggesting that you shouldn't try the typical tavernas, like, during lunchtime, or, the restaurants at the hotels. But also, I mean, I'm just giving you the, over the top experience, because that really touched me when I was there. The setup and the architecture and the feeling, it was Mediterranean, although Peruvian food, with a Greek twist. It was Mediterranean, Middle East. That was the feeling. So kind of like, loud music, one of the best kind of like, music backgrounds. I mean, there was a DJ playing there, but he was spectacular. I'm not really into music in general. I mean, I can, it's pleasant, but that was spectacular. So the vibe was really, really nice. The service was, incomparable to anything that I've experienced before. So I definitely recommend that. And then we're going to chill a little bit more. So before or after, you can go and visit the Sunset Bar. Mimi, I told you my best friend was got married there, and I was the maid of honor. So it's very close to my heart, but definitely worth going for a cocktail. So they also have a live band playing music in the evening, and you have the most spectacular view of the sunset and the whole town of Mykonos. So down south, the white houses is the main town of Mykonos.
Stunning. And this reminds me a little bit of Tulum, the way they have the setup on the beach. A little boho chic Mykonos, it looks like.
This is the most sought after, is that the right word? Place in Mykonos the past 2 years, 3 years, 2 years actually. Yeah, it opened about 2 years ago. Access is really tough to achieve because it becomes popular. It's the place to be seen. So you would have a variety of beach clubs in any destination. In Paros, you would have a beach club. In Naxos, a little bit less because it's also a family destination. But Paros, Crete, and Mykonos, so you would have Scorpios, you would have Namos. There are great concerts that take place there. You would have Alemagu. So you never run out of options. But Scorpios is the place to be. So you would have this setup, this loungy kind of feeling, and you can go to the beach, you can just step into the water. And then in the evening, they would bring all these popular DJs, and you would have a big party. And then on the other side, it's a huge space. On the other side, you would have the restaurant. That's why I combined these two pictures. And the food is really, I can't even describe it. Either the seafood or the meat. It's definitely worth doing one visit while you're in Mykonos. Ideal time to stay in Mykonos, I would say between 3 and 5 days.
Okay.
Depending, the length of the trip. Okay, so I said earlier that in Greece we've got quite a few islands, and I think there is no better way to explore it. We might not be very objective here, but there is no better way to explore it than a yacht. So it's kind of a paradise on earth with all the different. There is a lot of variety, and there is a lot of diversity. So you can find it all. This picture that you see at the background is the small cosmopolitan island of Hydra. You call it Hydra. We call it Hydra in Greek. And Hydra and Spetses, there's two islands that they're off the Athenian Riviera, about an hour and 15 minutes, an hour and a half by hydrofoil. And they're all pedestrian, so you can't move around with a car in neither of those islands. So you would either have horse-drawn carriages, or you would be walking on foot. So it's, you have a different feeling, and they become very popular because they're very close to Athens. They become very popular. So going back to the charters, there's a huge variety of either catamaran options or motor yachts, as you see on the screen. Just a couple of different options to explore. And then I just purposely put together a short itinerary just to showcase what you can do in just 7 days. So you can start from Athens. So if you look here, you start from Athens, you go to Aegina and Agistri, two small little Greek islands, and then you go through the very narrow Corinthian Canal. I'm sure you have seen that in pictures, where some massive cruise ships going through. It reminds you a little bit of the Suez.
Hopefully,
Yes.
with fewer incidents. Yeah.
Yeah, no, we didn't have. We're very skillful. I mean, we're one of the biggest global powers in shipping in Greece. So if that happened to a Greek, like, captain, I would be surprised. But anyway, so you're going through the Corinthian Canal, and then you are approaching to ancient Olympia that we spoke about earlier, and you're covering about 6 or 7 different islands in the Ionian Sea. And on the next picture, you will see what I'm talking about. So you would have Agistri, you would have Ithaki. Ithaki is the motherland of Odysseus. Right? You got it?
The colors, right? The greens and the blues and the whites of the beaches. That's what I love. It's no secret to people who have listened in before that I'm a big fan of chartering catamarans and yachts. And one of the reasons is because you can go to some of these smaller places that you would never go to otherwise, right? You get to sneak into these little coves where there aren't a lot of people, or see those cute towns that you wouldn't normally fly into and spend a few days. So I love it.
And Mimi, the captains, for example, you might have designed an itinerary for the Aegean Sea to do Mykonos and Santorini. And for whatever reason, the captain says, no, it's not advisable because for 10 days it would be choppy waters and we can't go there. So, or the other way around, you might have designed it for the Ionian Sea and they say, oh, for whatever reason, can we divert it? So they have a lot of flexibility, but they also know how to handle the last minute, things. There would be the people in the know, and not just the captain. There would be a group of hosts and hostesses on board. Of course, the staff would have their own different bedrooms, but they're super, super helpful. And then our last part, we left it, for the last is our villa services. There is a great demand for more and more villa option. In the company, we are able to offer 19 different destinations in Greece, starting from 2-bedroom options up to 20. So actually you can accommodate up to 40 people. So that's a big family, I would say. But there might be some groups that they're that big. So you would have, majority of the properties, we would have probably about 200 different properties to showcase. So definitely reach out if you're looking for a longer stay. In Mykonos, for example, there would be a lot more restrictions when it comes to villa product. In Naxos and Paros and Crete, they're a lot more flexible. Santorini would be between 4 nights and 5 nights. But I have to say that majority of the product, because of the demand, would be mainly in Mykonos and Santorini. You have gorgeous sea views from all the villas. This is one of the key requirements to sign up to a new villa product. They would all have, of course, the swimming pool. They would have all the daily services. We can do anything and everything the client would ask for. They would have, massive barbecue facilities. For their entertainment, they would have the state-of-the-art equipment, because we know, even if you're in a spectacular place like that, you still want to keep in touch, with people, listen to the music, watch movies. So I'm just scrolling through to show a couple of different destinations.
And each one is more beautiful than the last one.
Paros and Naxos, and keep that in mind, they would come a lot more affordable compared to Mykonos and Santorini. Yeah. And they would, Naxos would be more a destination for people who are really active, so they want to do a lot of activities, and they have families because they have long sandy beaches in the island. So it's a very family-friendly island. Paros would be a very good alternative and is really competing well already with Mykonos, because you've got the beach life, which is spectacular. The beaches are amazing. You've got a really good level of dining, and you've got the nightlife. pretty much what Mykonos is known for. You don't have like, luxurious, the super high-end shopping, but Paros is getting to that point, and more 5-star properties are coming. Antiparos is a place that a lot of yacht enthusiasts would go to explore or dock. And there's a lot of people who are into surfing, because it's kind of like, windy in Antiparos. So you would go there. And we have the first hotel that is opening in Antiparos. It's becoming a lot more popular. So it's only 20 minutes away from Paros on the little boat. It's not even a boat. It's like I don't know how to, sailing boat. Yeah. And you can do it as a day trip. And the first 5-star hotel that is opening in Antiparos. Tom Hanks has a villa in Antiparos because he's a Greek citizen now. So you will see all the celebrities in Greece. Then we carry on with more Mykonoan style hotels. And one of my favorite would be Santorini Villa Navsika. You see the colors when the sun goes down. We had an amazing client trip, like the fam trip. They're absolutely stunning.
And Eva, how many bedrooms is that one?
This one?
Yeah.
This would be 7.
Okay, so pretty big. And great for a group of friends too, right? So 7 couples.
And they would have stuff. I mean, a villa as big as this one, they would have a chef and a butler with them for the duration of the stay. It really maybe depends on the destination. If we talk in Mykonos and Santorini, of course you would get higher services, higher pricing. If we're talking a little bit more low profile, like Corfu would be considered low profile. This villa, for example, is a lot bigger, but it comes more affordable compared to Mykonos and Santorini. It really depends on the destination. And then my highlight, you can accommodate 20 people in this place. It's in Porto Heli. It's the villa that belongs to the estate of the Amanzoe property. And this villa can accommodate, you can actually drive from Athens. There's a lot of zigzagging on the road. I wouldn't recommend it if you don't particularly like that. And after a long trip, if it's 10 hours flight to Greece, we would encourage people to take a short helicopter flight, which is 25 minutes.
And do they have a helipad on the property?
Yeah, absolutely. And majority of the hotels that we work with in Santorini, the ones that are in 5-star plus level, they would have a helipad as well in Santorini and in Mykonos. So this particular one, it would accommodate 20 people, but the number of staff that will be servicing them, it's even bigger compared to the guests. So this is something that really stuck with me since I've heard of it. So it's quite impressive, and it's really, it's built on the hill. It's about 5 minutes from the beach. So the beach is private. It belongs to the Amman property. So you have this amazing, top views. But at the same time, you can reach the water in just minutes. So here we are.
All right. Well, I'm going to say, first of all, thank you. All of that is such amazing information, and I so appreciate it. I love hearing all your favorite places, and I think Porto Heli, I need to have a big get-together there one day. It's definitely on my list. And we're a little over the time, which is not super surprising because you have such great knowledge, and I love to talk about Greece and all the beautiful places. But maybe we could just go through pretty quickly some of our takeaway tips that you and I had talked about when people are thinking of coming to Greece, the different things to, you might be able to hear my dog in the background, by the way.
It's okay.
She joins me during these shows. Usually she's asleep, but today she's waking up. Let's start with maybe the weather. I know, from my personal knowledge and having people go there, that July and August tend to be the windier months, particularly down near Santorini and even Mykonos too. Is that correct?
Yes, and it gets windy. When you're in the island, you don't feel it. Your hair might be messy, but at the same time, in Mykonos, for example, which is called the island of the winds, yes, your hair is all over the place. But at the same time, because the winds come from the north, the southern part of the island has the most amazing beach side. So you don't have any waves. It's so serene and calm. So you don't understand, you don't feel it when you're in the island. But when you do yachting for a week, it might not be the best idea. Now, generally speaking, in terms of weather, it would be pleasant between May and October. Of course, in the evening, you would need like a light jumper or a light jacket, just because you might get a little bit of a chill. But overall, July and August would be super hot. So you would be by the beach, during the day, and then, in the evening, you would more likely go out. But it wouldn't be unbearable.
Okay.
Well,
would it be an argument for flying instead of taking the ferry from one island to another during July and August, or would it not be that big of a factor because the ferries are so substantial? Okay.
No, I mean, if you're going to go Mykonos, so there is no connectivity between the islands. So if you want to go Mykonos, Santorini, or Mykonos, Paros, Naxos, Crete, you will have to take the ferry. If you cannot take the ferry for whatever reason, you fly back to Athens, and from Athens you take the flight to the next island.
Right.
So majority of the islands would be connected by flight.
And I know that when I tend to do a Greece itinerary, I like to leave Santorini for last because it is that very spectacular view and it's such a amazingly unique place. In terms of the order of the other islands, given the ferry schedules or the access from one to the other, would you say there's a particular order that you would have people go in if they were, seeing Crete and Santorini and Mykonos, or what are your thoughts?
I tend to start or finish with Athens, depending on their flight time and how tired I might feel, or whatever the personal preferences are. And I would start with the more authentic destinations, the more traditional destinations, the more feel like you're in Greece destination. And then I would close the trip with a highlight. As you said, to me, a highlight would be Santorini. Santorini would always be the highlight because of the breathtaking experiences and the views. For someone else, it might be Mykonos. For someone else, it might be Corfu. But 95% of the times, an itinerary to Greece, especially for the first timers, would include Santorini, unless they have already been, because they see it everywhere. They see it on social media. Everybody has been, so they don't want to miss out. So in terms of order, for example, the Ionian Sea that we have talked about, Corfu and Zakynthos. If a client doesn't travel to Greece, to Athens directly, they fly into Paris, London, Amsterdam, Zurich, whatever, and then they can fly to Corfu. So we start the itinerary from the west side and move toward the capital in the east side of Greece. So, I mean, we give proper guidance on what works logistically best when we do the consultation with the client on the inquiry stage.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then obviously we talked about a little bit about the wind for July and August. In terms of best times to go, Ionian Sea, Aegean Sea, Athens. I know there are several places that are actually year-round destinations, whereas you maybe wouldn't go to Santorini in the middle of winter. But what are your favorite year-round destinations?
I have been to Santorini in January because I used to work for a hotel there, and it was amazing. There was no people around. It was quite a different, setup. So typically, I would say April to October, it would be good for any island to visit. Now, if you are a Greek like me, I wouldn't go into the water before June. But if you are, not a Greek, maybe in May, in Mykonos, it might be a little bit cold still. But then you can go into the water in September and October because it has absorbed all the heat from the summer and the water is still warm. So generally speaking, April to October, good for any destination. Santorini, as I said, starts a little bit earlier and finishes a little bit later. And then Crete, or parts of Crete, like Hania, would stay open throughout the year. So it would be a typical weekend destination for the Greeks in the northern part of Greece or in Athens, because it's extremely warm. The Cretas go to the beach in January and in December because it's still 25 Celsius, which is 65, 70 Fahrenheit. Yeah, exactly. But at the same time, we don't always talk about travelers that they're into the beach. When I travel, the beach side, obviously, because I'm Greek, it's not a priority. So I want to see, I want to explore. So we would have people, even last year with COVID, we had people asking for Christmas or like, February. Obviously, we were in a lockdown, we couldn't do it. But you can experience the mainland of Greece, all the mainland, the northern part, all the way down to Peloponnese. So you would always have options.
Well, I think too that you're going to the beach and maybe you want to go in the water, but so much of the life in the Greek Isles is actually what's happening on the sand and at the beach club and at the restaurant and in the town, to your point. So you don't actually have to, go in the water, even if you're laying at the beach.
And maybe one reason that also Santorini stays longer is because majority of the hotels that would have heated swimming pools. So the hot tubs. So even if it's not, Santorini is not a destination that you would go for the beach because you have like another volcano. Yes, you can go swimming, but it wouldn't be the top destination that I would go, go swimming. It would be Mykonos, Paros, Crete, okay? Because you have like, this black sand and black kind of like, pebble, and people would be a little bit more reserved. And that's why the hotels have developed like, a lot more product with heated swimming pools. So it's, the season lasts longer.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, I just wanted to say that you might not know that because we're not Switzerland or Austria. There is a lot of ski resorts in Greece. I know it's funny, but we have a lot of mountains, like, even outside Athens, like Delphi that I was talking about earlier, Parnassos, or the northern part of Greece where I come from. So we would have, obviously the infrastructure wouldn't be as advanced as you would find like, in France or Switzerland. But there's a lot of like, skiers in Greece. So that's a good takeaway tip.
Yeah, I actually had no idea until you mentioned it earlier that there were ski resorts in Greece. So if anybody wants to go there as a winter destination, right, you can do that too. Well, I think that Greece is on a lot of people's minds. I think people are very excited it's opening up. I'm excited to have guests going there in September, I think is the next time. So I'm hopeful that everything progresses smoothly through the summer. I'm so grateful to spend this time with you and to pull on your expertise for this conversation and for all of my trips when I send people to Greece. And I look forward to seeing you hopefully sometime soon, either in the US or over there. So thank you so much for joining me today.
Either or, Mimi. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for the opportunity. And I look forward to more of these. I'll definitely do a live streaming, like, with you in one of the hotels.
That would be super fun. And I think, for us, we're going to be cooking together and drinking white wine together in person one of these days. So I will look forward to that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you. Have a great day.
Okay, take care.